What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. I want to apologize in advance if you do hear some background rumbling or anything. It is raining its ass off right now outside, so I do want to go ahead and apologize for that. But I did want to do a video. I'm trying to stay steady, trying to stay consistent, and getting a video, if not every day, at least every other day, or something like that. Um, so today's video, we're going to be talking about the protests and stuff that have been going on across the country, and even across the whole world, that are uh, pro-Palestine, Palestinian protests and stuff. We're going to discuss that, kind of the different aspects of it, um, what I think about what has happened in some instances versus others, the way I would have preferred that it was handled, and then what do I think it have do I think it has helped to influence it all, or if the continuation of it will help influence at all. In general, does that help in any circumstance, things like that. But first, what I want to do is kind of give you a quick update on the I guess you could say, like, the ceasefire um, peace agreement thing that Biden had the press conference about last Thursday. Kind of give you an update on what's going on there. So, as I said in the previous video about that, he gave his presentation or whatever, his speech, and pretty much crediting it all to Israel, saying that that Israel, proposed this, and with the three phase stuff. First phase, doing the sustainable ceasefire, along with pulling troops and stuff from populated areas, which is kind of weird there, because there's very few populated areas left. I mean, like, as far as, like, there's only what I don't know what they consider, like, what was populated areas, like cities, or what is populated right now, which is mostly just Rafah, and some in Khan Yunis. But anyways, and then also the captives and stuff, trying to get releasing those. Something that would be in the first phase would be letting go of all the like regular citizens, men and women, and some in the elderly, and then even some that have passed away, and then and that would get us through the first 6 weeks, and continued talks to get to the second phase, which would have been pulling troops completely out of Gaza, releasing military type people that are captives, men, women, whatnot, and deceased for that, and that respect as well. And for continuation also, those will be released with Palestinian captives and stuff that Israel has, as well, through both of those phases. And then the second phase would also, like, make a more permanent ceasefire. And then third phase, of course, reconstruction phase, which I would hope would go further eventually into trying to establish some type of state. Me personally, that's what I would like to see. But that's just hopeful. That's what he pretty much established, and of course, humanitarian aid also getting in. I think the number was roughly like 600 a day or something like that they threw out there. Much needed, much needed. Uh, Probably the most important. Um, and that's what he presented, and he presented it as Israel proposed this. Um, but then, although in the middle of that, he was also, trying to kind of persuade. Although I think that was directed more at people in the party or people in the government, the Likud party and stuff that Benjamin Netanyahu is a part of. Some of those that are more on his side and his party, or actually further right than even he is, um, definitely do not agree with this, and they are already opposing it. Like immediately, we're opposing it, and even uh, that's what he was. I think he was addressing mostly them, to get behind it. Um, but it did make things kind of weird, just be like, they proposed this, but then they need to get on board with it. Like it's so people were questioning because a lot of the stuff in this proposal sounded exactly like, to some degree, the previous proposal that was just like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then also just like the proposal that was back in February, um, that Hamas proposed. So it was very strange. And it's almost like he just spun it in a way, maybe for political pressure on Israel to go ahead and try to force them to like agree to something because it was publicly announced like that. I don't know, but uh, it quickly came that after that. What we have from now is that Benjamin Netanyahu come out and basically was like, nothing has changed with us. We our stance on the situation is continuing to, and we would like the whole humanitarian. I mean the whole ceasefire temporary just to get the hostages back, and then we will go right back to bombing you. Like there's that's their stance that they are staying hold to, hard on the eradication of Hamas, which I think part of the speech that Biden gave, he kind of touched on that, kind of um, uh, basically trying to say that they had already kind of done that. Like he was throwing out there, like, to some degree, that they had taken care of Hamas, at least to the point that they were no longer be efficient, at least for a while or something like that. That didn't oppose any kind of threat, at the moment. And so that's why they couldn't go along with, or propose this, and kind of like that, we won kind of thing. But anyways, that's where we're going. They have come back and basically said that's not true, and basically just throwing a wrench in the whole thing again, as they did before, making their stances that they didn't agree to this. So I don't know. Um, it doesn't look very promising. I don't know what the steps now. If Biden had any backbone, he would turn around and be like, "You agreed to this. Now you're going against it. This is whatever second, third time this has happened. So no more. This is done. We're cutting everything off." I mean, I wish that if he had any kind of backbone, that's what he would do. We're cutting you off. No funding. No weaponry. No ammo. Nothing. You want to carry this out, you got to do it on your own, kind of crap. And then even which he most certainly wouldn't do, but I wish he would get behind the whole UN thing and put sanctions on them economically and everything else to try to shut them down, because they've gotten out of, it's just out of hand. It's crazy, way beyond out of hand. Um, but I don't know. More than likely, he won't do that. He will just continue with his whole, letting Bibi walk all over them, which is just sad. Um, uh, because I mean, fundamentally, which he has said several times already, he himself is a ideologue, Zionist ideologue, um, uh, Biden. So it's not like he's completely hardcore against it. Yes, it looks bad, but if he can keep giving cover and being all wishy washy about it and like, well, we tried, which is just complete BS. Um, we could have stopped this a long time ago. But I don't know. We'll see in the coming days what actions and things will be, coming from Washington and seeing how that goes. But that's for that. That's as far as we know from there on that. Um, and because Hamas agreed to it, they have like immediately come out and agreed. Yes, we're good with that, no problem. Um, and so yeah, it was just. We'll continue whenever any other major updates come out, or any changes happens. I'll let you know though. So on to what we're talking. Our main focus at hand. The protest. So as you probably have all seen and heard, we've had our major protests all across the country. It pretty much started. The first one was at Columbia. Had you know quite a few students and even faculty members eventually got in on it as well. And what they're doing is asking for the to divest. That's like their main thing. You have quite a few of our college, um, our colleges and stuff that get support and take funds and stuff from different companies and stuff that back and create products and stuff like that um, for Israel, and invest in Israel. So that's basically what they're asking for is for them to divest from that. Because some of them take from Boeing and other big corporations and stuff that create weapons and stuff that send over there that are being used in our tax money, and so uh, and these schools are making investments in those companies. Uh, and so that's basically what they were. That's the core of what they were asking because they go to that school, they pay their way to go to that school. The money that they pay in is contributing to those investments, and they are basically at that's what they're asking. Is like since we are paying into this school to go here, we are suggesting and urging for you to divest from these other companies that is supporting what they view as a genocide, me included. So that's what they were mainly asking, outside of just the fact of just giving, uh, a voice and to be heard, to support Palestine and support um, the end of the genocide. So that's what they were mostly doing, and they were mostly peaceful. They had encampments, um, and but the problem was with Colombia is they decided to um, be a little bit more forceful about taking care of the situation. And because of Colombia, starting from there, it just the ripple effect, the way that Colombia decided to go against it, putting campus security and then calling in cops and stuff like that, and the harsh nature that went about removing students from the campus and arresting them and all that kind of stuff, just blew up all across the country, and then you wind up having multiple colleges all across the country, um, from Columbia all the way to LA, all across the country. Students were protesting on their college campuses, for the same things. Um, Most of which, like 95 or probably even higher than that percent, peaceful. There was no major or kind of like any kind of major like violence or even any kind of destruction, mostly or in across all of it. One is, it, quite frankly, is one, it was one of the most peaceful ones that we've had in recent history. Um, uh, in whole, looking at it. Um, so that's what you basically had. Then you had you started seeing other colleges that were taking after the Columbia direction, um, putting seeking the cops and enforcement on them, which was rough in many ways, arrests and everything else. Um, but then you had uh, a few um, a few colleges that decided to go the other route, and actually like communicate and talk with the students, hear them out, and work about towards some type of solution. Brown University being one major one that decided to hold a meeting, with the like some of the head leaders in the student group, and they basically come to the decision to hold a um, a vote. I think in the next major investment meeting, um, and hold a vote towards whether or not to divest from the groups that they were asking for them to divest from that support Israel. Um, and the students were in agreement. Okay, well, hey, that's a start. If we get this and we can be a part of it, then that's a start. And it ended right there. I don't think they were protested or encamped for maybe at the most a week, and it was over. Simple. And you had other universities that did similar things. I can't remember. There was one other university. I can't remember which one, that just straight up agreed to I mean, digest, divest. Um, and then, and so, yeah, I mean, yeah, there was, that's, so, but I think the bulk of the universities were more being a little bit more aggressive. And that just doesn't work. It doesn't, and it's not the right move. And that's not the right move in any situation. Um, and then you had wind up having, um, uh, now in Colombia eventually, uh, and like I guess you could consider almost like a second round of their protest. They wind up taking over one of the buildings, um, and you know, in spirit, and renaming it, um, uh, to the little girl, the little 6-year old that died in Gaza, by Israel. I can't remember her name now, but they renamed it that. That was like I said, in spirit. They renamed it, um, and was trying to hold that place, which previously um, was held uh, by students and stuff in previous protests, back in I believe the 80s and stuff, um, uh, and during the Vietnam War or something like that. It was held up a couple of times then, and I think in way more aggressive way than this time around. Um, but there again, the cops were called in, and there was a whole big thing. A lot of harsh aggressiveness from the cops, um, and an arrest made again, all that kind of stuff. Um, and this continue, like I said, this is the way some of them all across the country were doing. Um, on the in LA, you had I can't whichever college it was. Um, Maybe UCLA. I don't think it was UCLA. It was one of the other ones. Um, but they wind up actually having counter protests from pro-Israel um, groups and stuff that turned violent. They were getting violent towards the pro-Palestinian protesters, um, to throwing things into the encampments like pieces of the boards and stuff like that, because they had kind of built some walls and stuff around the encampment, like tearing them down, throwing them at people, beating people, shooting off fireworks, um, all kinds of stuff. They're extremely violent for up to like 3 or 4 hours, um, before finally um, some police and stuff started trying to, I guess, disperse it. But there was all the campus security and police. They basically went and hid and just allowed it to happen. Didn't do anything against them. And up until I think it was last week, there wasn't even any arrest made on any of them. But they finally did, I think, arrest one of them. I'm pretty sure after pressure, um, because about a week or so later, I want to say it was CNN or something, did a news thing where they had actually went and found just quite a few of them, and tried to like do interviews with them, which most of them refused or got aggressive at towards them, or just completely denied the interview. But it's like, but the um, police were trying to act like they couldn't find them, like, oh, we couldn't identify them and stuff like that. But CNN had no problem identifying like 3 or 4 or 5 of them like easily. Um, and it's absolutely silly, the just blatant, just turning a blind eye to that, but yet you wanted to get aggressive towards the pro-Palestinians, and that's just ideologue there, and showing bias towards a certain group. So that that is not the way to go about it. Um, so you had all that going on, um, and at this point, I think most of them have pretty much been pushed, I think, off of all the campuses. There's been a lot of them going to different locations. There's been some campuses that even have, said, hey, since you can't protest there, you can come to our campus and protest or something like that. That's been happening a few times. Um, but there's still more going on. It's spread all across, internationally through Europe, Australia, several other places, Canada. I know there was I think this past week or this past weekend or something. Um, I guess it was last week. Uh, a group of students were protesting at one school, I think in Ontario or something, and like the faculty created like a wall in front of the students, and basically saying to the enforcement and stuff that was trying to, I guess, break it up or whatever, you have to go through us. Like, to get to them, you're gonna have to go through us. And they were basically holding a faculty wall up to protect the students. And I think they backed off. I may have heard that some of them may have gotten arrested. But anyway, so it's still kind of going on in certain places, um, and it's just not quite in the media anymore. Um, but that's what's being asked. You've got a lot of politicians and stuff, Republican and even Democratic, that have thrown out all kinds of stuff about them, um, being pro Hamas and all this kind of stuff. Just blatant lies, really. Cause and you know, acting like they, even some of them calling them like Nazis and stuff like that. It's absolutely ridiculous. Um, all they were asking for was divestment. They, they were calling out. Some have called out that they were saying, Antifada and from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, stuff like that, and that's being, you know, put off as anti-Semitic and all this kind of crap. Um, because Jews, a lot of some Jews think that that is in reference to eradication of Israel and all Jews or whatever. Um, and while that might be, just like I said, I've talked about this in the Hamas video. That might be to some degree what Hamas and I wouldn't even think I don't even think 100% of Hamas actually think that way. I think it's only a certain percentage of them that actually think in that degree. But if, what most people that say that, and especially these college students say that, um, they are just referring to the fact of they want to see a either a one or two state solution where everybody is living in peace and there's no violence, and no occupation or whatever. They just it's about the Palestinians becoming free, and having their freedom just like everybody else. That's what they're asking for. That's what they're calling at. Um, and that's actually what the term originally meant, anyways. Back before Hamas kind of twisted it to some degree. Um, in how you can even call it anti-Semitic when and make it out like that's it's genocidal when somebody says it in respect to or support for Palestinians, but then um, when Bibi Netanyahu gets up there and speaks about that as far as Israel's concerned, that's not that's not genocidal. And he has gotten up in speeches and said those exact words, from the river to the sea, Israel will, whatever. Um, that's not genocidal. But when anybody who says it in reference to Palestinians, it's suddenly anti-Semitic and genocidal, and we want to eradicate all Jews. It's ridiculous. Um, so I mean, Netanyahu is even presented a map at the UN that showed Israel forming the whole, all the land, and there was no Gaza, no West Bank, no Palestinian um, divide or anything. It was all Israel. Um, so what's good for one's not good for another, I guess. But no, that's what the students were meaning. They just wanted to digest for the schools to divest from companies that are supporting and helping Israel in what they appear to be and what views to them as a genocide. Um, and that's what they're asking for. Simple as that. And that just to take that and twist it into all this other kind of bullcrap is just ridiculous. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. Um, School should have handled it better. It should have been more diplomatic. You know, getting with the students just like Brown did and a few other schools did, and trying to actually talk with them, come to some sort of agreement or understanding. We'll try to do this or we'll try to do that or we'll whatever. Um, but to just sick uh, the police force on them, to arrest them and break it up and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't do anything. All that does is embolden and empower them to come back and come back even stronger, because now they feel personally attacked as well, and it's just it's just not the way to handle it, and that's now even if there are some bad apples, and I'm pretty sure that there were a few bad apples that may have caused some chaos, may have said some things that were shouldn't have been said, and I'm sure there were a few of them. Like I said, majority of them were peaceful, but that's just, you can't count out the whole movement or the whole group, because of one or two bad apples or whatever. And this is going back to, whether you supported or didn't support January 6th, or you supported or didn't support BLM, or any other protest that's ever happened in history. You always wind up having a couple bad actors, whether they are actually with the group or not. You wind up having bad actors, and that make the whole group look bad. Um, uh, Depending upon what the group is actually trying to do. Now, I'm not trying to defend January 6th at all, because that was a bad act. That was a bad movement, bad act in general, but not everybody in that movement. What I'm getting at is not everybody in that movement was violent. Not everybody in that movement went to the Capitol um, for those actions. There was only a handful of them that actually, that's what their whole point was, and they were just, some of the rest of them were just following along, thinking it was cool. Um, but like I said, BLM, same thing. You had, most of that was peaceful protesting, and then you had some aggravators, whether they were a part of the BLM or not. Some may have been, some I'm pretty sure were not, causing all kinds of riots and destruction and everything else. But it made the whole BLM movement look bad because of it. Same thing. So the same thing here. You can't just you have to recognize, see through the nuances of your news and coverage or actions of people in the leadership positions or enforcement or whatever. Look past that and see, what's really going on. What's the movement about, or what's the protest about? What are they actually asking for? And was the actions taken? Were they equal? And in this sense, it most certainly wasn't. Um, so that's my feelings on it. Do I think it is going to make it? Has it made a difference, or will it make a difference? I do think it has made some difference. I think it has given even more awareness, and which has created more pressure. And I think that's why we've seen some rhetoric change within our own government, within Washington, even though overall the policy hasn't completely changed. The pressure has been placed, and some rhetoric has changed. You've had more politicians that aren't in agreement, but weren't really being quite as vocal yet. You've had many of them become more vocal. And then just, you've also got members of the Defense Department and stuff starting to resign and stuff like that, which I don't, is many reasons behind that. I'm not saying that these protests really caused that, but it's pretty probably that, along with just directions that the Biden administration is taking, and the Defense Department is doing, with just blatantly covering up stuff, and reports and everything else, making it out like they can't find any evidence of Israel doing anything, and so it's okay if we send them shit, which is complete BS. And everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. We're not dumb. We're not stupid. We're not blind. We are living in the information era where everything can be seen in an instant. You can't hide things anymore. All right, this is not, this is not even just 20 years ago. All right, where this is a whole different story now. You can't fool us. You can't make up crap and we just agree like, oh yeah, okay. Some, yes, there's a small percentage of people that are ignorant enough to believe it, but the majority of people, way more on social media, way on the internet, way more into, you know, um, seeing things, and the stuff that's, and the videos are right there. You see them instantly and live, basically almost. It's it's not like you're getting stuff secondhand or delayed anymore. It's right there, so you can't cover it up anymore. You just can't. Um, so, anyways, that's what I think about that, and I do think the continued pressure that the youth have and younger people have given to this, um, most certainly is causing some change. Like I said, it is bringing more and more and more awareness. People that may not have been paying attention, or vaguely were paying attention, may have started paying attention a little bit more. Maybe because they were directly connected to it, or maybe whatever. Um, so sometimes people completely ignore stuff foreign going on until it starts affecting domestically, and then they go, "Wait a minute, why is this stuff happening? What's going on?" So like I said, awareness is a big thing, and these kind of actions and protests have created awareness and helped to move um, policy and actions in the past, um, effectively over time. Sometimes it's not immediate, but I do feel like over time it has become more and more immediate, especially the faster information is spread. Like now, information is spread so fast. I think the pressure builds faster now than it did back in the Vietnam War, or back in um, your civil rights, movement and stuff like that. Like uh, these things, I think the pressure builds faster. Um, and you see action taken a little bit faster. Um, Although I have to admit, action has not been taken fast enough, even this time around. But hopefully that will change soon, especially after recent events and stuff like that. So, anyways, thank you for your time. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. And check out my other videos. And give me any ideas. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think that this is effective? Doing protests like this, is it effective? Certainly peaceful. That's the way to go as far as the protesters go. Keep it peaceful, always. Violence is never the answer. I don't even really agree with taking over any kind of properties. Like I think that's just a little much. Although I do get the emphasis of it, and this disruption. It's all about disruption. But you know, but nevertheless, those who are countering that, whether it be administration, enforcement, or whatever, also needs to stay, or even counter protesters also needs to stay civil and peaceful, and not violent. That's one thing that really annoys me when it comes to enforcement, is how quickly they snap to being violent, even though you're not supposed to be violent with them. They have no problem being violent with you. You can be charged for being violent with them, but they're supposed to just get away with it scot free. So yeah. Anyways, non-violence. Keep it peaceful. Keep it cool. diplomatic. That's the way to go, in my opinion. So, anyways, thank you, and until next time, peace. I'm out.